This video goes inside the Upstream model. We'll look at the submodels, how to replace them, and how to skip some of them. Actually, there isn't one single variable on the root level of this model. Everything is based on submodels, and they come from components. We can go into one submodel, this petroleum tax. Here you can see some of the variables, but if you really want to go into the model, you should exit your presentation view. If you do not have this button in your model, you may need to open it using the open command. In that case, you will have a save and an open button here. In this case, I've opened it using the open command, so I can click here. We can see we have two diagrams. We have the model and we have the user interface. That's the only two diagrams we have in this model. And actually this diagram is the only one in the model, because the user interface is only a connection diagram where we connect the user interface model to the others. So let's have a look at the user interface model. If double-clicking here, I go into the model itself. Here we can see all the screens that we are used to. And one of the new benefits we can have by using user interfaces in a separate submodel is the ability to connect using the ref function. This discount rate, for instance, that's a local variable in this user interface submodel. But since we have used the ref function, making this a reference variable against the discount rate inside the economic results, then this variable may also be used as input. So for instance, if I make a slider control, I put it here, I can drag this discount rate in here, and I'm able to change the discount rate. Now I'm changing this variable, of course, but I'm also changing the variable which is the origin of this variable. So this is a variable I'm changing by dragging the slider in a completely different submodel. Therefore, one of the big advantages of using submodels is the ability to replace this model only. For instance, if you are several people working on the same model. Let's go back to the main diagram here. What if another person has made changes to one of these submodels? Let's for instance say you have a new version of the production value submodel. If I delete this model now, I accept the warnings, then I get some question marks and so on, and I want to place a new submodel here replacing the old one. So I open the gas components file. In the samples you could do it by clicking this link. You can also open it manually. In here I'm looking for this file, and you see here production value is one of the components under calculation in the component catalog. So all I need to do is clicking this one, then drag it into my model, and here we have the production value. The tooltip will show which variables are causing the red question mark. In this case, we have 4 inputs, and we already know where to get them. One is from apply inflation. We accept these 2 bindings on that one. Another one comes from the apply cutoff. So we accept that one. Now we only need the output, of course, but also we may want this unit coming from the eco-prep model. So I apply that one as well. I hold control now to get a break on the line there. And the reporting unit is then added. And the last output link, that's enough to create a link. We don't need to redo any bindings because we didn't make any change to this one. So that's it. We have a new version of this model based on a new version of the component. Let's have a look at another model here. This cutoff model. What's happening inside this one? Well, to be quick, we see we are taking in the OPEX and the revenues. Then we are running a small simulation to find the cumulated cash flow. By finding the highest point in this cumulated cash flow, we find the cutoff period and then the cutoff year. What if we want to ignore this information? We don't want it to cut off in year 2042 and so on. Then we can take a look at the components here. If I want to remove this cutoff calculation, then of course I also want to remove apply cutoff. So let's have a look at this apply cutoff submodel. This is a simple model. It takes some imports, liquid production for instance, and based on the cutoff period, it uses this value or it uses 0. So by removing this entire component, then I could still make the model work because we have other components taking liquid production as input. Here you see we are using the production import parameter. Let's look at where that one is. That's this one. Production import is used into apply cutoff. I can remove this one, Pressing delete. Then I can also remove the cutoff submodel. And this one is only used in cutoff, so I remove that one as well. When removing these submodels, I also remove the shortcuts of the submodels. I got warnings about that. One of them was here. The other one was on the user interface. That's the purpose of this frame, so we can see that some of the submodels may be missing, and we may want to indicate that we're using them in the user interface. So we come back to how to connect them. Now I want to make direct links in place of those going through the apply cutoff submodel that I've removed. One of them went from production import to production value. Here you see these bindings it's addressed. I accept those. I also need some imports from OPEX into inflation and from CapEx import in here. Also this oil equivalence. As we know, the links actually come from production import. I could verify that by going into oil equivalence and see here that, okay, they came from apply cutoff, but it is a liquid production and gas production we are dealing with. So actually I already have this link. I could remove this one, but there is a feature in Studio. If we make a new link here, let me make it a bit strange. So you see this one will be removed. I only use that link to get access to this binding dialog. So in this case, I connect all this and the connection is fine. My dummy link was removed and the old one is kept in place. So now the model itself is okay, but I still need to do something with the user interface. I am missing something here. Of course, I removed the cutoff. So what should I do in place? So let's take a look inside the user interface submodel. Here I can look at the variables. And I see this cutoff year is of course missing. So the easiest in the first place is simply to make this a high number. This year is in a long time, it should go over fields. Now we can have a look in the presentation view and see the effects of these changes. You can look at cutoff. You see the cutoff lasts forever inside this simulation. We can also look at some results. This one, for instance, you see it now goes negative after a while, which would not happen with the cutoff intact. So it's a bad decision removing the cutoff. Even if we have removed some of the submodels now, if looking at the model view here, you see we are still seeing the old ones. That's because this view of the model is only a snapshot. We have used the tool to copy an area to the clipboard. That's because these submodels are on the root level, while this indication of the model is something we wanted to put into the user interface, which is inside the submodel. We could, if desired, have linked to the root level, but then we would have needed all the other links as well there. So that's why this was the easiest way. You see also some of these submodels, they are deterred. Another video will show how to create these models from scratch based on the component library. Thank you for watching this one.